Hi everybody. Hopefully you're having a great Memorial Day weekend. Barbecuing, hanging out with family and friends, and remembering why we have what we have today. So I figured I'd take a few minutes on this long weekend and show you how I weather my track. This is already pretty much done, weathered, ballasted. The only thing left that I need to do to this rail here is add the black streaks and a little bit of more airbrushing to the track now that the ballast is done. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how I achieve this. It's pretty simple. If we move down here to the end of the auto rack facility, you'll see this is all still brand new ballast in here. So what I'm going to do is I'll come in and I'll do some black streaking down the middle, and then I'll use my airbrush and just kind of highlight a little more rust along the rails, because that rust will actually turn the ballast the rust color after it's been sitting there for a while. So this looks good the way it is. Could probably get away with this, but what I want to do is just take it to the next level. I'm probably not going to do the airbrushing part today, but I'll show you how I at least weather the sides of the rails and get that rust color, the base coat, in there. Alright, so I'll go ahead and set this up over in the West Chicago yard, and we'll go ahead and do a piece of track. Okay, so here we are in some of the tracks in West Chicago yard. I've already done these right here. I still have these three to do, but what I'll do is I'll do a little section in here so you can kind of see. Actually, I'll probably do this one. So when you get Flex Track, this is Atlas Code 83. It comes with brown ties, and the Code 100 Atlas is the black ties. So all that was used down in the staging yard. This is all Code 83 up here. What I do first, once the track is glued down, I actually use this the camouflage, Rust-Oleum camouflage. This happens to be earth brown. Just going to focus on it there. Nope, no focusing. Let me pause this and I'll be right back. Okay, let's try that again. So earth brown, still not focusing at all. Not sure why. So anyway, you get the idea. So camouflage. What I'll do is I'll spray paint the track, and once that spray is on there on both sides, while it's still wet, I use a block of wood and I just go along the tops and I wipe off the tops of the rails to get the paint that's still wet off the tops of the rails. And that's why this thing's kind of all brown. So this works really good. If you wait for the paint to dry, it's going to be really hard to take it off the tops of the rails. I've seen other people that put oil on the tops of the rails before they paint it. It makes it easy to come off. But trust me, you get a little piece of wood, spray this down a little section at a time, and then just use a piece of wood. I mean, you could go this way and do a whole bunch of them at the same time, but that just cleans off the tops of the rails real quick and easily. And then you could come in with a Bright Boy once it's dry and just kind of clean off the tops of those rails. You can also use a tidy track system to clean this off if that's what you want to use. It's kind of a neat little tool, to clean off the tops of the rails. But for me, it's just a quick cleanup of the tops of the rails after it's all dry and I get the bulk of that paint off, and that's good enough. Okay, so once that's done, I use 3 different colors of acrylic paint to achieve this look right here. So the first step I use is raw sienna, and I apologize, I'm not sure why my camera's not focusing in, but this is Delta Cream Coat raw sienna. It's 02411. And what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of this, and this gives you the nice new rust color. This is not like the burnt umber that's really dark. And you want to pick a brush. I usually use something like this. You want something thin, if you can see it, but you want something thin, not too wide, because what we're going to be doing is going on the insides of the rails. So you pick up a little bit of brush, full strength, a little bit of paint on the brush, full strength, and what you're going to do is just you know, is just run it down the insides of the rails. And it's not really hard to do, but you don't want to coat everything. What I'm doing is running the brush on the inside and the outside of the rail, and that coats the tops of these rail spikes also. Kind of like that. And then I'll go ahead and do the other side. This is very time consuming, very tedious, but for me the end result is well worth it. You know, this is something I wouldn't take hours and hours of doing. I kind of do a little bit at a time. Got to be in the mood to do this. But I like the end result. Okay, so this coated, let's see if I can pick this up and show you a little bit better. So that coated the inside and outside of the rail. Now the next step, once that's dry, is I'll come in with the burnt umber. Still acrylic paint. This is the Americana stuff. And this is a lot darker compared to the raw Senia. So you can see the difference in the color. This one goes on top of what I just did. So that gives me a nice variety of rust color, and it really coats the outside of the rail and makes it a lot more realistic looking instead of all one orange colored rust. Do the other side. There's a lot of different ways you can rust your track. It all depends on what level you want to take it to. I've seen people just airbrush it, call it good. Don't weather it at all, just ballast it. You know, it's entirely what you want to achieve with your railroad. Okay, so now we got to wait for this to dry a little bit. But you can kind of see it's not so orangey now. On the top. I don't know why my camera's not focusing, folks. I apologize. There we go. Okay. Now we're still trying to get to this look right here. So we're almost there. I had a setting on my my camera. I think it'll focus now. Yep, there you go. So that's what I use to spray. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I'm going to give this a few minutes to dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, so taking a few minutes to let the burnt umber and the raw Senia dry on the track that I've been working on here. So the next step, you want to take this paint off the tops of the rails. Really, it comes off extremely easy with just a bright boy. No need to use the block of wood like I talked about when you do the Rust-Oleum. The Rust-Oleum's a little different kind of paint, but you don't need to use a block of wood. If you want to, though, you can. But I just kind of clean off the tops of the rail heads, and now that gives me that look so far. It's getting really similar to what I've done down here already. Alright. So the next step involves a technique is called dry brushing. What I use for this is white acrylic paint. And the idea behind this is pretty simple. I use, once again, another flat brush. I've used this one a lot. It's soft, and it's not pointed. It's kind of been frayed out a little bit, which is exactly what I want. So the way you want to do this is you want to pick up some paint onto the tip of the brush, and you want to take and wipe most of it off. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come in and lightly just coat the tops of the rail heads. And what this does is it not only fades and looks sun bleached, but it really highlights the detail of all the tops of the ties and the wood grain, and everything just kind of pops and comes to life. So wipe that off. Doesn't look like there's anything there, but there is. And we're just going to go ahead and dry brush both sides. And it might be hard to see on the camera, but it really does a great job of highlighting and sun fading, bleaching the tops of these. Bleaching the tops of the rail ties and just highlighting everything. And there you have it. It is that simple. So this up here is unweathered. That is just painted with Rust-Oleum. The rails aren't weathered. And then these are. So now when I get in and ballast, it'll look a lot more realistic when the ballast is in here. And then I'll come in with my airbrush, and like I said, I'll go ahead and tint up the ballast, and where the rust just kind of runs into the ballast, and really makes things and bring things together. Alright, so there you have it. So a quick recap: glue the track down. I spray it with some Rust-Oleum earth brown. While that earth brown is still wet, use a block of wood, clean off the tops of the rail heads while the paint is wet. Use a, it builds up pretty quick, so I just usually wipe it off, take the bulk of the paint off, and then continue on, wipe it off. Once you do that, let it dry. I usually give it a good hour to dry and make sure it's really, really good and dry. Maybe not take that long, but I usually give it about an hour. Once that's done, raw Senia, full strength along the edges of the rails on both sides. Burnt umber, both sides on the rail heads, which highlights all the rail spikes. And then I dry brush acrylic white, and that just kind of highlights everything. And that's it. Give it a try. Real easy, a little tedious, depends on how much track you got to do. Alright folks, thanks for watching.